Traversing through time and becoming a resident of a courtyard full of emotions, I was kidnapped by Yi Zhonghai's morality at the beginning. Yi Zhonghai said, "Your parents are dead, there are 2 rooms in the house. You and your 2 sisters can squeeze 1 room and take out 1 for the Jia family." Upon hearing these words, Li Cheng couldn't hold his breath anymore and walked up to Yi Zhonghai's side, saying, "Grandpa, you can let the house come out to live in, but first put your face closer." Later, Li Cheng slapped Yi Zhonghai in the face, 2 front teeth flew backwards for more than 10 meters. "I gave you face, didn't I?" Afterwards, Li Cheng took over his father's position as a fitter and became an intern fitter at the steel rolling mill. Faced with the difficulties posed by Yi Zhonghai, relying on the heavenly way reward system to constantly confront him. Years later, looking at Yi Zhonghai lying in bed with physical disabilities, Li Cheng sneered, "You deserve it." Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. The beginning of the heavenly collapse, no father, no mother, child true. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the 1960s. For 9 cities, number 2 Drum Lane, South Tower, inside a quaint courtyard house. At this time, it is approaching the end of the year. Most people are joyfully welcoming the arrival of the new year. Every household is purchasing New Year's goods and posting couplets. Talking and laughing. After all, once it's Chinese New Year these days, the country will provide a lot of benefits, such as a few pounds of melon seeds, and some daily meat will be much more than usual. However, in a dilapidated room on the left side of the front courtyard of this quadrangle, there are 2 little girls squatting next to a dilapidated Kong, crying profusely. At this point, both eyes were already bright red, indicating that they had been crying for a long time. The taller little girl kept repeating in her mouth, "Brother. You can't have anything to do. If you have something to do, what should we do?" Occasionally, the little girl walked beside and kept sobbing, unable to say a word. At this moment, the boy lying in bed suddenly opened his eyes. He looked at the dilapidated ceiling and looked vaguely in the direction of the sound. Looking at the 2 little girls in front of him, he was full of confusion. Where is this? How did I get here? Who are the 2 little girls? At this moment, suddenly, a memory surged out of my mind. A few seconds later, Li Cheng absorbed all this memory. Immediately, the whole person became very angry. I thought I would travel back to the 1960s. Most of the people are very simple and enthusiastic. There is no substance, nor is there any intrigue. But I never thought about it. I have traveled to this courtyard full of birds and beasts. The people living here are not normal. All people are scheming and fighting for profit. They long for others to live worse than them, and they long for others to live better than them. They bully the weak. To be honest, it's even a bit lawless. The reason why I am lying in this bed. Just because I had an argument with stupid Zhu, it is impossible to give one's own house to someone else's house. Unexpectedly, he was beaten up by the silly pillar. I want to go to Yizhonghai to seek fairness. But it was discovered that even in this small courtyard, without any strength, one cannot achieve the so-called fairness. They don't even bother you, and even make sarcastic remarks. Li Cheng and his 3 children should live in one room, and the other room should not be given to anyone else. It's a bit ridiculous for a normal person to hear such words. But in this courtyard, everyone even takes it for granted. In this way, Li Cheng, who was originally in his body, collapsed in anger and lay on the hospital bed. I almost died this year ago. Fortunately, Li Cheng traveled over and only then did he have the current scene. Think of these. Li Cheng's heart was very angry. Extremely angry. But now is not the time to get angry. Looking at these 2 poor sisters in front of me, he suddenly said slowly, "Yuner, Waner, I have nothing to do. Don't cry. I'm fine now. The two younger sisters raised their heads excitedly at the sound. Immediately, they instinctively threw themselves into Li Cheng's arms. Brother. As long as you're okay, we just want you to be okay. If you have anything to do, how can we live together? Speaking and speaking. The two younger sisters started crying again. Li Cheng let out a deep sigh. Crossing over is indeed the beginning of a landslide. In the entire human society, there are several things that have always existed. The first type is the existence of social classes. Some people are born noble, and they are born high and above. Perhaps ordinary people will never be able to catch up in their lifetime. And another is the existence of unfairness. There is no absolute fairness in the world. There is only absolute unfairness. Even if you just want to live in your own house, if you are weak, others will treat your words as nonsense. The current situation is like this. Since we have traveled through time, we must change this situation. Don't worry. Li Cheng touched the small heads of Yun heir and Jiang heir with a very firm expression. Brother will definitely protect you. But we can't deal with them at all. We are lonely and helpless, we are all children. How could we possibly defeat them? Li Wan cried. The brother in front of me back then. I just had an argument with the silly pillar in the courtyard. I was beaten up severely. As a younger sister who witnessed it with her own eyes, she was powerless. Because the other people in the courtyard are all protecting the silly pillar, almost no one is willing to help these three siblings. That was before. Li Cheng clenched his fist and turned to walk in front of the mirror. Looking at my thin and weak self in the mirror. I have already made up my mind, definitely. Be sure to protect these two sisters. We must make these beasts pay a cruel price. Even if we kill them, it doesn't matter. At this moment. Suddenly, a mechanical sound came to my mind. Successfully detected host traversal, do you want to activate the system? Activate. Li Cheng didn't even think about it and ordered directly. As a traveler who enjoys watching us, I am very familiar with this system. The system is binding. System binding successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Heavenly Way reward system. Does the host open the beginner's gift pack? Open. Next second. In Li Cheng's hand, 3 black body pills appeared, as the name suggests. After taking these health pills, you can transform your body. Immediately, Li Cheng ran to the kitchen. I took out 3 bowls. Brother, what are you doing? Are you hungry? I'll go see who has food at home now, and I'll go beg for some. Li Cheng was stunned for a moment, looking at his sensible sister in front of him. I feel even more guilty in my heart. No. I'm not hungry, I have 2 good things I want to give you. Immediately, 3 health pills were placed in 1 bowl each. 1 minute has passed. The EP1 melted into the water. Drink this water. With a growl. The 2 younger sisters didn't hesitate either. I drank it in 1 gulp. Suddenly, the 3 of them turned red. Surprisingly, black impurities appeared on the body. What is this thing? Li Wan looked at it dark and felt very scared in her heart. There's nothing. These are the impurities in your body. Eating that thing just now can make your body better. Do you feel that your body has become more comfortable? Li Wan and Li Yun both nodded at the same time. Right, right. I feel like my arm has been hurting all along, and now it suddenly stops hurting. Li Cheng frowned and looked at Li Wan's arm. I only saw a piece of iron blue on my arm. How did this happen? Li Wan shook her head. I didn't do much, I bumped into it myself. Where did my sister hit this? It was just a joke. Brother, when you fainted. Sister wanted to find you something to eat, but she was beaten up by the stick meme. Hush. Li Cheng angrily punched the table. Bullying others too much. It's really deceiving people too much. If I don't kill this beast, I don't have the surname Li. Chapter 2. Breaking Silly Zhu's Hand. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, suddenly, there was a hurried knocking on the door. Li Wan, Li Yun. Hurry up and come out. We're going to have a quadrangle meeting. This voice is not from anyone else. It's in the bangs of the courtyard. As the second elder in the courtyard, he is almost always the one who notifies us of the usual quadrangle assembly. There are no exceptions this time. Li Cheng opened the door and looked at the bangs on his face. Wrinkled his brow and said, "Second master. Suddenly, there's a quadrangle meeting. What's up?" Lu Haizhong looked very surprised and said, "Didn't you faint? Can't I just wake up when I faint? Or don't you want to see me wake up?" Li Cheng looked at him coldly and questioned. "There's no need for that. Anyway, I've already notified you in place and will gather in the middle of the courtyard in a few minutes. As for what meeting to hold, we will naturally know when we gather." Drop this sentence in the bangs. Then he went straight to the next door and knocked. Looking at the back of the bangs, Li Wan shook her head helplessly and said, "There's no need to think about it. It must be our other house again. This matter hasn't happened in a day or two. Sai, brother, why don't we give them the house instead? Don't keep bothering us." Li Wan looked at Li Cheng in great pain. Li Cheng shook his head firmly and said, "Why should we give them our house? Don't worry, Wana Yuner. No one can take the house left by our parents. Are we going to attend this conference?" Li Yun blinked and asked in confusion. "Join. Of course I have to join. I want to see these beasts and see how they want to perform." Li Cheng looked ahead with great curiosity. In the middle of the courtyard, it is a very large outdoor space. In the middle of space, a square table is placed. There are 3 people sitting on the table at this moment. The one on the far left is in the second uncle's bangs. Also known as a model of parents being merciless and children being unfilial. The most central one is Yi Zhonghai, also known as the moral heavenly master, in the courtyard. And the one on the far right is Yan Bugui, who is stingy in search. These 3 people are jokingly referred to as the 3 great heavenly kings in this courtyard. However, Yizhonghai still has the most power in speaking. The other 2 people are sometimes just a decoration. At this moment, Li Cheng walked slowly over with his 2 younger sisters. My but hasn't sat down yet. The silly pillar next to him shouted, "Li Cheng, I asked you to come to the meeting. Why are you acting like an emperor? Then everyone is waiting for you." "What do you mean?" Looking at the big silly spring in front of him, Li Cheng was not at all willing to be outdone. "I want you to meddle in your own business." "Stupid silly pillar. What are you saying?" Upon hearing the words, silly and silly, Silly Zhu immediately became furious. "You should know. In this courtyard, no one has ever dared to say so. At most, it's just a silly line. I said you're just a silly slut. Madonna bitch." Li Cheng stood beside, with a meaningful smile on his face. At this moment, the younger sister next to her hurriedly tugged at Li Cheng's sleeve. With a trembling voice, he said, "Brother, don't provoke him anymore, he may come here to hit you again." It is obvious that Li Wan in front of her is very scared. Li Cheng smiled and said, "Don't worry, this silly pillar can't help me." But in the next second, stupid Zhu, who has always been particularly impulsive, rushed towards Li Cheng. Grasping his fist tightly, he swung it over. It scared everyone present. Yizhonghai smiled at the scene before him. "Hey! Li Cheng really doesn't know the superiority of heaven and earth, maybe he'll be beaten again." While the onlookers were eating melons The next second scene left everyone stunned. I saw silly Zhu sitting on the ground, holding his arm. A constant wail was emitted. What's going on? Yizhonghai quickly walked down from the square table upon seeing the situation. What did you do to the pillar? How did his arm break? Yizhonghai looked fiercely at Li Cheng and questioned him. What did you do? Are you blind? Didn't you see that he wanted to hit me? It's just that he can't hit me. Li Cheng's disdainful answer. Hush. Everyone present was stunned. A very timid Li Cheng, since he is so tough today. It feels like a different person has changed. What surprised them even more was, as the god of war and silly pillar of the quadrangle, he was unexpectedly broken by someone else's arm. It's a bit outrageous to be true. Today is for you to come here for a meeting, not to cause trouble. Yizhonghai fiercely choked. Who caused the problem? You should understand it very well in your heart, right? You all said we would gather in a few minutes, but you didn't say a few minutes. I came a bit late, are you like this? It's really self-inflicted. I suggest you go to the hospital as soon as possible. Otherwise, your arm will be disabled. Of course, I would like to see silly Zhu's arm disabled. Li Cheng pretended to have a relaxed expression on his face. You hit someone and broke their arm. Don't you know it's illegal? If you bring the police over, you'll have to go to jail. Li Cheng laughed heartily and said, Do I have to go to jail? Aren't you joking? I think you're the ones going to jail, right? Don't think I don't know why you're holding this quadrangle meeting today. Isn't it that you want me to vacate another room in my house? You righteous hypocrite, our family is in such a miserable situation, and your parents have passed away. You still have to compete for this house in my house. Has your conscience been eaten by the dog? With your virtue, you still treat us like a big master in our yard. Be a dick. Damn it. Li Cheng directly cursed loudly. Then walk forward. He flipped the square table in front of him with one hand. At this moment, the entire venue is in chaos. Everyone never expected that Li Cheng in front of them would make such a scene. Su Dumao was even more stunned. However, the admiration in my heart suddenly arose. The Li Cheng in front of me really did what I had always wanted to do. Just lift the table, he's really a hero. What are you doing? Yizhonghai was already furious. Your family already has 2 rooms. What's wrong with you and your sister squeezing a room together? I won't say anything more to you. Since you want to behave like this, I'll call the police over. Yizhonghai pretended to be intimidating here. But Li Cheng no longer eats this kind of trick. You go call me, I'll wait here. Li Cheng sat on a stool and grabbed another handful of melon seeds in his hand. With an indifferent expression on his face. This has infuriated Yizhonghai. I don't want to make such a scene because we are neighbors. Give you one last chance. Free up your house for me. Also, send a pillar to the hospital to compensate for the medical expenses. In that case, this matter will be settled. Chapter 3. Anger of the Director of the Neighborhood Committee. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Calculate your mother's sales batch. You calculate, I haven't calculated yet. The next second, Li Cheng lifted the table directly. Look at the people around you. Li Cheng directly cursed loudly. Look at what kind of virtues you all have. To be honest, it's better to be a beast than a beast. Damn it. How kind my dad used to be to you guys. My dad's bones are still cold at this time, so you're thinking about robbing our house, bullying my sister, bullying me as a family member. Did your conscience feed the dog? What's worse than pigs and dogs? Yizhonghai, I really don't understand how you became an old man. You have no conscience at all. It's better to be a pig or a dog. Yizhonghai's aura is as pale as iron. I didn't expect to be scolded by a younger generation and get a bloody head. Old Lu. Go and call Director Wang from the neighborhood committee over. Let him give this thing a good education. Yizhonghai's loud command. I'm a thing. You're not even a thing. Li Cheng is not willing to be outdone at all. Aren't you guys doing so little in our family? I can tell you. If Director Wang comes here, I will go all out. I must tell the director in detail about all the disgusting things you have done. Since nobody wants a good life. Let's not go through that TMD. At this moment, Yan Bugue stood up with a guilty heart. Lao Yi, let's not bring this matter to the neighborhood committee. It's not good for our courtyard. If the neighborhood committee really finds out about this, then our advanced quadrangle will definitely not be rated again. Originally, there would be more meat this year, but if such a thing happens suddenly, our meat may also be gone. Yan Bugue spoke everyone's innermost thoughts. Everyone, you speak one sentence at a time. Yizhonghai felt very awkward. I haven't waited for Yizhonghai to speak yet. Meat and meat. You know how to take advantage. As the third master in the yard, seeing Yizhonghai's inaction, you dare not even fart. What kind of third master are you? This quadrangle can still become an advanced quadrangle. It's really the best joke in the world. Okay, we need to find the neighborhood committee director, right? I'll go find it now. Juvenile. Let's go. Li Cheng directly pulled his two younger sisters, leaving the courtyard in the bewildered eyes of everyone. After waiting for a few minutes, this group of talents has calmed down. Li Cheng, who killed 1,000 knives, must be punished properly for treating us gentlemen like this. Yizhonghai gritted his teeth and said fiercely. And on the other side, Li Cheng didn't hesitate and quickly arrived at the entrance of the neighborhood committee. Before I could speak, I saw Director Wang walking towards me. What are you three children doing here? Director Wang asked with great concern. Director. Our house is about to be taken by someone else, you have to make the decision for us. Li Cheng said with a runny nose and tears in his eyes. The two younger sisters next to me. It's also tearful. As a female director, what he can't stand the most is children crying. What's going on? Who dares to rob your house? Let's go inside the house and talk. Arrive at the office of the director of the street office. Li Cheng didn't hesitate and told everything in detail. After listening, Director Wang is extremely angry. His face turned iron blue. How dare Yizhonghai do such a thing? Let him become this old man to manage the affairs in the courtyard well. He has also been an advanced courtyard house these years. How could he be like this? Director Wang is somewhat puzzled. Director. You've been deceived by him. He's just a hypocritical hypocrite, nodding and bowing in front of you. But when it comes to us neighbors, he relies on the power of an old man and is very biased. It's really disgusting. I don't think he deserves to be this old man at all. He even wants to take my house. Hey. Speaking of this, Li Cheng let out a heavy sigh. At this moment, Li Wan beside her also spoke tearfully, Director, the people in the yard are bullying us kids. He often beats us. Look at my arm. Li Wan rolled up her sleeves. Director Wang looked at the green and purple ones. Suddenly, my scalp felt numb. Is this being beaten by someone else? Yes, it was the people in the yard who fought. Can Yizhonghai just ignore this matter? Yizhonghai is particularly biased towards silly pillars and biased towards the Jia family. There is no possibility of speaking in our yard. There's really no way. Why don't you come to the street early to handle it? At this point, Li Cheng shook his head helplessly and said, how could we children have such great courage? We're afraid of being retaliated by Yizhonghai and his team. There's nothing we can do. We can't stand it anymore. If we don't come again, our houses will be taken away. Director Wang, you must make the decision for us. In this world, everyone is bullying the weak. The more you appear weak, the more others bully you. Li Cheng was like this in the beginning. I'm afraid of both this and that. In the end, you will still be bullied by others. Now I have traveled through it myself. I want to change the current situation. Then we must become tough. With a bang, Director Wang hit the table with a heavy punch. Yizhonghai, Yizhonghai. I didn't expect you to be such a person. Xiao Li's father still passed away on duty. Not only did he not take good care of his children, but he also ended up bullying the little ones. It's really despicable. Let's go. I'm going to the courtyard to see what kind of virtue Yi Zhonghai has become. On the other side, the crowd in the courtyard has dispersed. Lao Yi. Li Cheng, this kid, won't really go to the neighborhood committee, will he? Jia Zhang asked in confusion. Impossible. We don't know this person well, he's incredibly weak. How could he go to the neighborhood committee? Besides, Director Wang of the neighborhood committee has a very good relationship with me, and it's useless if he goes. Yizhonghai didn't even take this matter to heart. What tricks can a child do? About 10 minutes later, Director Wang appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. The first person to see Director Wang is the third uncle Yan Bugui. In an instant, a playful expression appeared. Over the years, Yizhonghai has been promoting personal heroism in the courtyard. As the third master in the courtyard, he only takes advantage of the situation and has no right to speak. All things have to go through his Yizhonghai. This also made Yan Bugui feel very frustrated. And the only one that can regulate Yizhonghai. That's the director of the neighborhood committee in front of me, Director Wang. Chapter 4. Director Wang angrily curses Yizhonghai. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Director Wang. What wind brought you here? Yan Bugui walked over with a smile on his face. Director Wang frowned and said, Where's Yizhonghai? Yizhonghai ran back into the room, right. I'm not quite sure about this, but it's highly likely that he should be inside the house. After the quadrangle assembly, he didn't pass by here, so he should still be inside the house. What's up? Director Wang, are you looking for Lao Yi for anything? Yan Bugui instinctively left Li Cheng behind. I'm asking you. Are you guys colluding to steal the house from the Xiaoli family? Director Wang's face was very serious, and he looked at Yan Bugui coldly. Yan Bugui was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat and instinctively took a few steps back. No, no. How could they possibly rob the house? As an elementary school teacher, how could I possibly do such a dirty and despicable thing? It's better. Director Wang snorted coldly. Then he walked towards the front yard. Looking at the backs of Director Wang and several others. Yan Bugui hurriedly ran back to his room and gasped for breath, saying to his family, something big is going to happen. The three aunties who were sweeping the floor stopped their movements and said, what big deal can happen? What a fuss. I'm telling you, this time Yizhonghai has suffered a disaster. Yan Bugui gulped down a glass of water and looked very excited. Lao Yi. How could Lao Yi be miserable? His life is much more nourishing than ours. With so much salary in a month, there's not enough time to enjoy happiness. If you say it's miserable, it should be me. These few dollars salary, I have to support 5 or 6 people, and occasionally have to donate money to the Jia family. I'm really impressed. Speaking of which, the faces of the three aunties are black and blue. Yan Bugui is also very uncomfortable. Every time Yizhonghai holds a quadrangle assembly, he often brings these two gentlemen to donate together. In front of so many people. Sorry for not donating. Donating too much is not allowed due to family conditions. Yizhonghai relied on his high salary, and donating these few yuan had no impact on him at all. But as for their Yen family, even one less piece is not enough, it will affect their quality of life. Oh my, it's not about this. Director Wang from the neighborhood committee has arrived, as if he's looking for Yi Zhonghai in a fierce manner. It should be because of this matter with Li Cheng and his family. After hearing this, Aunt San was immediately surprised and said, "Do you mean that Li Cheng really went to the neighborhood committee?" It looks like it should be, otherwise how could he possibly come back with Director Wang? The third aunt's face suddenly smiled and said, "That's really going to be a disaster for Yi Zhonghai." Sigh, but there's also a possibility that Yi Zhonghai's relationship with Director Wang is not quite good. Perhaps he will still favor Yi Zhonghai a bit. Let's go out and take a look. We need to take a look at this excitement. When they reached the door of Yi Zhonghai's room, Director Wang at this time. "I have already stood in front of Yi Zhonghai. I'm asking you. Xiaoli in his family's house, are you trying to take him away?" Faced with this sudden problem, Yi Zhonghai was completely confused. Then he awkwardly smiled and said, "Director Wang, sit down. It's rare to come here, I'll pour you some water to drink." "Who wants to drink your water?" Director Wang appeared very angry. "Answer my question." Yi Zhonghai is not at all panicked. "Director Wang, I am the uncle appointed by you with the purpose of promoting harmonious coexistence among the neighbors in the courtyard. Look at our courtyard, which is rated as an advanced courtyard every year. How could such a thing be done? There must be some misunderstanding among them. Xiaoli, as a child, doesn't understand at all. If he says anything, Director, don't take it to heart." Standing behind, Li Cheng saw the expression on Yi Zhonghai's face. Just rushed out. "Yi Zhonghai, are you speaking this without conscience? In order to steal this house from my house, you held several quadrangle meetings. Don't you have any points in mind?" "Not bad, I'm still a child. But I don't understand anything. Ever since my parents passed away, I've been thinking about my house every day. There are still 3 people in my family, what's wrong with living in 2 rooms? Besides, these houses were originally owned by my own family. Why do you want me to give this house to people like the Jia family? Is it because Jia Dongshu is your disciple? You are really a good master." Li Cheng excitedly said that due to the impurities in his body, he had become very strong under the action of the quenching body pill. Along with the sound, it is also full of power. This paragraph deeply imprinted in everyone's minds. Yi Zhonghai was stunned. Li Cheng, who used to be gentle and weak, feels like a different person today. They already said, "Yi Zhonghai, what else do you want to argue? So when you become this old man, it's for you to manage the courtyard well, not for you to rob someone else's house." Director Wang let out a cold snort. A heavy punch hit the table. "If you behave like this again, believe it or not, I will revoke your position as the first uncle. Xiao Li's father passed away on duty and made contributions to the country. Are you treating their children like this? You even said you were an old man, and it's really embarrassing for our neighborhood committee to say so." Chapter 5. Misunderstanding Your Mother. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Yi Zhonghai was not angry. Instead, he smiled awkwardly. "Director Wang, this must be a misunderstanding." Then he held on to Director Wang's hand. "Let's talk on the other side. I'll explain it to you." Director Wang immediately pushed Yi Zhonghai away. A very serious rebuke. Misunderstanding. What is a misunderstanding? Let's make it clear here. Don't mess with me about everything. Now is the most serious time. Seeing Director Wang's abnormal behavior, Yi Zhonghai was also very surprised. Li Cheng next to him was very satisfied with this scene. What he is afraid of is the collusion between the director of the neighborhood committee and Yi Zhonghai. I didn't expect Director Wang to be a righteous person. It is indeed quite good. Xiao Li's father has passed away, and now he only has 3 children. And they are all minors. As an old man in a courtyard house, I also shoulder the responsibility of taking care of them. For the sake of harmony among the neighbors, I think it's safer for the 3 of them to live in the same room. If the other room is empty, it can be used for others. In this way, others will also be grateful to him, and the road in the courtyard will be wider in the future. Yizhonghai explained something. I laughed at Li Cheng next to me. I haven't waited for Director Wang to continue questioning. Li Cheng stood up first and sneered coldly, Yizhonghai, did you say you want to be the guardian of a few of us? You are an elder, and you can have this qualification. I just want to ask you, you are actually the guardian of a few of us. Do you have to be responsible to us? When my father passed away, did you ever come to help with the aftermath? Normally, even if there was no such relationship, as an old man in a large courtyard, I should still help with all my heart and responsibility. Besides, you're still a guardian. I'll ask you again, where did you go when we were bullied by others? What kind of guardian are you? What a misunderstanding. What a misunderstanding. Who wouldn't know that you and these people from the Jia family are wearing the same pants? Now my family has no income at all. Not only do they not support us, but they also want to give our house to people like the Jia family to live in. Yizhonghai, you really have a good plan. Li Cheng stood here sternly reprimanding. I have heard all these words in Director Wang's ear. Director Wang appeared very angry. A big man in a courtyard can really bully a few children. Yizhonghai's face turned iron blue. I didn't expect Li Cheng's lips to become so lively now. Immediately, he instinctively looked into the nearby bangs. Lu Haizhong stood up with a smile and said, Director Wang, I think Lao Yi did something wrong with this matter. Isn't it normal for 3 children to live in 2 rooms? Why should they have 3 children live in 1 room? I also opposed it at the beginning, but I'm just the second uncle in the yard. Our courtyard is just a one-man shop, and our other 2 uncles are just a decoration. Director Wang, I actually have no choice. Hush. Everyone looked at the bangs in front of them. Take a look at Yi Zhonghai next to him with a pale complexion. A playful expression suddenly appeared. I didn't expect Lu Haizhong to stab the knife in front of the neighborhood committee director. But even smart people can think of this step. After all, Lu Haizhong has been coveting the position of this master for a long time. Now that we have found the opportunity, why not stab a knife properly? Lao Lu. What are you talking about here? Didn't we discuss this together? Yi Zhonghai frowned and deliberately kept himself calm. I didn't discuss it together. Everyone knows that in this courtyard, you're just a one-man. If I don't agree, then you can't give me the shoes. Can I disagree? Lao Yan, do you think so? At this moment, Lu Haizhong looked at Yan Bugue next to him. Yan Bugue pondered for a moment, then nodded and said, what Lao Lu said is indeed true. Director Wang, Lao Yi talks to us every day in our courtyard, and the 2 of us have no way to deal with him. I initially opposed taking advantage of children and bullying them, but there was no other way. Sigh. Speaking of which, he deliberately paused and let out a heavy sigh. The atmosphere of the entire quadrangle suddenly became solemn. Everyone was also very surprised. I didn't expect these 3 gentlemen who usually talk and laugh. Now he's actually stabbed in the back. But it also looks quite interesting. Actually, Li Cheng had already anticipated this scene before him. These 3 pressures may seem particularly harmonious on the surface. Behind the scenes, everyone has their own careful thinking. Now the bangs have seized the opportunity. He will definitely stab in the back, as he expected. Yi Zhonghai is eager to cry without tears. He never expected these two people to say that to him. Lu Haizhong and Yan Bugui, are you two saying things like this a bit too much? Yizhonghai's loud threat. Enough. Director Wang slammed heavily on the square table and shouted loudly. Chapter 6. Director Wang. Yizhonghai, you are truly a failure. You are listening at novel full.audio. Moment the people in the courtyard have all quieted down. Yizhonghai is no exception. He looked at Director Wang in front of him. It's like a different person. Yizhonghai, giving you this position as an uncle is for you to manage this courtyard well. It's not for you to use your power to bully others. I didn't expect that I hadn't come over for a while now, and now I'm at this point. Even the bangs in your courtyard and Yan Bugui are accusing you in front of me. You are a real failure as a master. Threaten others in front of me. Where the hell did you get the courage? Director Wang looked fiercely at Yi Zhonghai, who was frightened and sweated profusely. It was indeed in the 1960s. The power of the neighborhood committee is very great. Eating, drinking, and urinating are basically managed by the neighborhood committee. Various bills are also distributed uniformly by the neighborhood committee. Even if you get married or have a funeral, you need the consent of the neighborhood committee. Therefore, the people in the courtyard are particularly afraid of Director Wang. The same goes for Yi Zhonghai in front of me. Moreover, the position of his uncle was bestowed upon him by Director Wang. Without Director Wang, Yi Zhonghai is nothing. Yi Zhonghai couldn't say a word. Lower your head, like a obedient grandson. At this moment, a burst of laughter suddenly came from beside. Pushi. The crowd's gaze instinctively turned towards the direction of the sound. I saw Su Dumao covering his mouth and unconsciously chuckling beside him. I couldn't hold back for a moment. Then he burst out laughing. Yi Zhonghai frowned. Watching Su Dumao scold loudly, "What are you laughing at?" Su Dumao immediately closed his mouth, but still coughed and pretended to say, "I didn't laugh anything. I just feel like you're like a grandson today, Grandpa." Hush. As soon as this sentence is spoken, everyone present burst into laughter. Even in the adjacent bangs. I also laughed heartily. Suddenly, the atmosphere of the entire quadrangle became very harmonious. This is the harmony brought by a smile. Of course. Most people have that kind of mocking gaze. Yi Zhonghai was furious and said, "You all shut up." He pointed at the people around him. A loud reprimand. Believe it or not, I'll punish you for cleaning the toilet. I subconsciously said this sentence in my mouth. But listening to Director Wang's ear, I feel very uncomfortable. At this moment, Li Cheng also noticed the change in Director Wang's expression. So he added oil and vinegar. Yi Zhonghai, if someone just smiles and you punish them for cleaning the toilet, your power is really great. No wonder when I asked you to be the host of justice, you showed favoritism and went to Grandma's house. Sigh. That's just one sentence. It further stimulates Director Wang. Director Wang snorted coldly and said, "Yi Zhonghai. You've done a really good job as an old man. Don't do it from today on. Bully others, bully neighbors. Look at everyone's attitude towards you, don't you have any points in your heart? As the director of the neighborhood committee and the director who appointed you, I feel particularly embarrassed now. Starting from today, I announce that you are no longer a master in the courtyard." Hush. Everyone present was stunned. However, most people are secretly laughing in their hearts. It has been so many years. Although he appears to fear the power of Yi Zhonghai, everyone obeys him. But he often complains about it secretly. Mainly because Yi Zhonghai was too biased in handling things. Silly Zhu is a person who causes trouble everywhere. Frequently assaulting other people in the courtyard. Especially Su Dumao in front of me. But after each fight, reporting on the side of Yi Zhonghai, Yi Zhonghai always tends to be eccentric and foolish. Even scolding others instead. Over time, it is natural for everyone to be particularly dissatisfied with Yi Zhonghai. Of course, it's not yet time for the outbreak. After all, I don't know the attitude of the neighborhood committee towards Yi Zhonghai. But now, obviously, Director Wang wants to rectify Yi Zhonghai. That's why everyone showed the same behavior as before. Director Wang. This is really a misunderstanding. I believe that during my time as an old master in the courtyard, I have been doing my best. Help maintain fairness in the courtyard, help the impoverished groups in our courtyard. And let our courtyard obtain the status of an advanced quadrangle courtyard for several consecutive years. My achievements, Director Wang, you cannot ignore them. Lu Haizhong chuckled and said, what you're saying is actually bullshit. Where did you come from? I think you did your best for the silly pillar, for the Jia family and the other people in our courtyard, and you didn't care about them either. Let Xiao Li's family talk about it. When their father passed away, you didn't even go to help. We even wanted to help, but you stopped us. And he often bullies these 3 children. Let's take a look at Lao Lu from our neighbor's house again. He has a family of 6 and only earns a few yuan. I have never seen you go to help him before, but instead go to help the Jia family every day. The Jia family earns over 20 yuan a month. This is your wholehearted effort. Chapter 7. Overwhelming Yizhonghai, with more than 10 front teeth flying backwards. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Lu Haizhong's words pierced the hearts of everyone in the courtyard. Tell the whole truth. Director Wang was extremely angry. It is obvious that Yizhonghai has become like this now. The masses will also discuss themselves behind their backs. After all, his position as a master was also chosen by himself. Look at the person next to you targeting yourself. Yi Zhonghai was very frustrated. But Director Wang is here, and he dare not say anything. Lu Haizhong. What qualifications do you have to say about me here? Who wouldn't know that you're thinking about my position as a master? Director Wang, Lu Haizhong deliberately targeted me here today and wanted the position of an old man. If he gave this old man to him, I don't know what he would look like. Also, at this moment, he looked at Li Cheng next to him. Li Cheng, you are really a white-eyed wolf. Everything I have done is beneficial to your family. How dare you still treat me like this? No wonder it's something raised by a mother but not taught by a mother. The 2 younger sisters, too, know how to go to someone else's house to beg for things. They have no quality at all. Hush. This sentence completely touched Li Cheng's bottom line. Immediately, Li Cheng walked towards Yi Zhonghai with great momentum. What do you want to do? Yi Zhonghai instinctively took a few steps back. Li Cheng remained silent and slapped him directly. With a loud bang, echoing throughout the entire courtyard. Everyone was confused. Some people widened their eyes and mouths, unable to believe the scene before them. You should know that Director Wang is nearby. Even Yi Zhonghai did not anticipate this scene. After a few seconds, Yi Zhonghai finally realized and said, how dare you hit me? But just finished saying that, Li Cheng slapped again. The force of this slap is very strong. Yi Zhonghai's 2 teeth flew out directly. Screams of agony echoed one after another. What are you doing? The first person to stand up was still Silly Zhu. Get out of here. Believe it or not, I'll beat you again. Li Cheng glared fiercely at Silly Zhu, who instinctively took a few steps back. After all, my hand is still feeling a faint pain now. Director Wang. He even beat up an old man in front of you. Such a person should be imprisoned. Seeing that he was too hard, Silly Zhu quickly ran to Director Wang's side and loudly said. Director Wang did not speak, but frowned. It's all hitting people, Director. Aren't you saying a word? Silly Zhu continued to urge. You deserve it. Director Wang suddenly came up with these two words. You fooled silly Zhu. Didn't you hear that? As an elder, Yizhonghai actually said that about his child. He should be beaten for his behavior. I now understand why the people in the courtyard are so hostile towards you, Yizhonghai. It turns out that you have this kind of virtue. Li Cheng finally realized completely that, Director Wang in front of me is still wholeheartedly dedicated to serving the people. To be honest, most people were like this in the 1960s. I just don't know why, but this quadrangle courtyard is going the opposite way. Of course, it can also be understood. There are always bad and good people at all times. There are people who are inferior to animals. Yi Zhonghai was completely hopeless and received 2 slaps for no reason. Surprisingly, the director of the neighborhood committee said he deserved it. Seeing Director Wang's particularly angry expression, Yi Zhonghai covered his fiery face and dared not say a word. Li Cheng finally calmed down. He didn't think much about this behavior just now. My own parents and sister are my bottom line. Once it comes to one's own bottom line, even if the heavenly King Laozi comes, he still has to take photos. Alright, that's all for today's farce. Starting from today, Yizhonghai, you are no longer a master in the courtyard. If anyone in the courtyard has any grievances, you can directly tell me. You can also go to our neighborhood committee to speak up. If there is anything unfair, we will definitely make decisions for you. Director Wang looked at the onlookers and said firmly, to be honest, our neighborhood committee is serving everyone. Don't even see us, it's like seeing bad people. Our country is a country that serves the people. Everyone finally breathed a sigh of relief. Can you really say it? Su Dumao suddenly stood up and asked. Of course it can be said that we will all keep a record of what happened and what was unfair. Once it is discovered, we will definitely impose severe punishment. Su Dumao nodded happily and said, okay. It would be great to have Director Wang's words. I really have a lot to say. I've been living too much these years. So 1 by 2 stood up. However, most of them didn't say it in person, they had to find a time to go. Shaoli, if you encounter anything in the future, you can come to me. I will definitely do justice for you. Director Wang patted Li Cheng's shoulder. By the way, Director Wang. There's one more thing I want to say face here. Director Wang frowned and said, what's going on? At this moment, Li Cheng looked at his younger sister Li Wan and said, Wanner, roll up your sleeves. Chapter 8. Wait. Stick memes need to be sent to the juvenile detention center. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Amidst the surprised gazes of everyone, Li Wan rolled up her sleeves. I saw a few pieces of iron green and iron green appear in front of everyone. Everyone takes a deep breath. A child so young should have been abused to this extent. Director Wang was even more shocked, but he had already known about it in advance and still tried to remain calm in his heart. It's actually Yi Zhonghai next to it. A nonchalant expression on his face. Just like a silly loser. Neighbors. Have you seen my sister's arm? He's blue and purple. He's still a child, who would have resorted to such a big and ruthless move. Wanner. Tell me who fought this. If it was placed in the past. Li Wan would never tell the truth, but now. My own brother testified to me. She turned around and pointed at Jia Zhang, saying, of course it's the good grandson of the wicked mother. In law. It was the stick that hit me. I didn't provoke him, but he bullied me when he saw me. Just pinch my hand. Jia Zhang was instantly furious. You fart. How could my grandson have done such a thing? You are just a beggar, begging everywhere every day, pinching you is really polluting my grandson's hands. Li Cheng walked up coldly and grabbed Jia Zhang's clothes, saying, if you have the ability, please say it again. In an instant, Jia Zhang felt guilty. Li Cheng also knows that these people are bullying the weak and afraid of the hard. Be tough. These people have nothing to say. My grandson wouldn't do such a thing at all. Whether you're doing it or not, just shout out the meme and you'll know. Li Cheng pushed Jia Zhang aside and turned to look at Director Wang, saying, "You should let Bongding come out and let him speak it out himself." Director Wang nodded and said, "Quickly shout out the meme." Under the urging of Director Wang, Qin Huairu next to her had no choice. Push the stick out of the room. But it was well advised in his ear in advance. It must not be said that it was Li Wan who played by herself. Stepping out the door, I saw a bunch of adults. Stick memes are not afraid at all. Instead, she walked up to Li Wan and loudly mocked, "What's going on? You want your brother to come and fight me, right? I'm telling you, your brother can't beat the silly pillar. The aura is very arrogant." Next second, Li Cheng slapped him up. "I hit you. What can you do to me?" Bang Ji instinctively took a few steps back. This slap. I was completely stunned by this meme. "I'll fight for you." Jia Zhang dragged her obese body and rushed towards Li Cheng. But due to special obesity, the action is particularly inflexible. Li Cheng just dodged to the left, but Jia Zhang couldn't control it and charged towards Yizhonghai behind. The next second came a scream of agony. Yizhonghai was firmly pressed down by Jia Zhang's family. Perhaps it was due to touching sensitive areas. After Jia Zhang realized it, he slapped Yizhonghai in the face and said, "What are you doing? I'm so old, don't you even let me go." This made the people next to me laugh. Li Cheng laughed heartily and said, "I didn't expect Lao Yi. You have such a strong taste." Yizhonghai felt even more embarrassed, his face turning red. Due to Jia Zhang's extremely heavy weight, Yizhonghai had no ability to push Jia Zhang away. It lasted for 1 minute like this. Yizhonghai asked for help and said, "Pillar, come and help me quickly." Silly Zhu dragged his injured body and forcefully pushed Jia Zhang away. "Li Cheng, you really bullied people too much today," Yizhonghai said fiercely. "You are the one who bullies others too much. Just now, it was Jia Zhang who knocked you down. Isn't it a bit bad for you to blame me?" Li Cheng chuckled and said with a mocking expression. Director Wang next to him also saw something delicious. The next second, Jia Zhang began to cry. "Director Wang, you just saw it. Li Cheng, this uneducated guy, actually hit my grandson. My grandson didn't provoke him. You saw it too." Jia Zhang cried and lay on the ground, rolling around. I haven't waited for Director Wang to say anything yet. Li Cheng looked at the Huaihua beside him and walked forward with a smile. "Huaihua. Did my sister get beaten by your brother?" Huaihua pouted and said, "It was my brother who did it. My brother often comes back to boast to us. He says he is invincible in all the quadrangles now." "Hush." Qin Huairu quickly covered the mouth of Huaihua. "Children's mouths speak recklessly, don't take it seriously." But Li Cheng sneered, "What are the virtues of your child? Don't you have any points in your heart? What's nonsense? Huaihua is a good child. He must have seen this scene, that's why he said it. What else does your family have to say now? When you see that there are no adults in my house, and there are only 3 children in my family. Are you bullying us all the time? I tell you that with me, Li Cheng, here, you must pay the price." After speaking, he walked over to Director Wang's side. "Director Wang, did you also hear that? His own sister told the truth. I don't know what kind of punishment there will be for someone like him who has such bad behavior now." Chapter 9. The Jia family is in a daze. Should the stick be sent to the juvenile detention center? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Director Wang didn't even think about it. This situation. We will directly send it to the juvenile detention center and give it a good education. Hear the 3 words, juvenile detention center. Qin Huairu next to her was scared to pee. This is his only precious son. If it really goes to the juvenile detention center. If recorded. It's very likely that finding a job will be difficult in the future. Especially national government units. The political review failed. This must be a misunderstanding. My son couldn't have hit so hard. Qin Huairu ran out anxiously, guarding in front of the stick. Misunderstanding. Why are you all misunderstood when something happened? When fighting, why don't you say it's a misunderstanding? It's really ridiculous. Director Wang. I think we should send the stick meme directly to the juvenile detention center. There's nothing to discuss about this. Director Wang nodded. But I haven't waited for him to speak yet. Jia Zhang ran out with a thud. Li Cheng, you killed 1,000 knives, didn't you just pinch your sister? As for how you look. Bang Ji also agreed with a nonchalant expression on his side, how come this is not my first time fighting? You want to send me to the juvenile detention center. Do you have this ability? What kind of thing are you? Lying trough. Everyone present was dumbfounded. Even Yi Zhonghai, a master in the courtyard, dared not speak like this in front of Director Wang. The meme in front of me is really unknown. Upon hearing these words, Li Cheng also burst into laughter and was very happy. After all, to be honest. Just now, there was a possibility of forgiving this minor. But after Bata Ji arrogantly said these words, it can be seen from Director Wang's expression, this time the meme really can't run away. Qin Huairu quickly covered Bang Ji's mouth and said, Director Wang, child talk without taboo, child talk without taboo. He was just talking nonsense, don't take it to heart. Director Wang let out a cold voice and said, a small child can become so arrogant in this courtyard. Even if I'm here, I can be like this. If I don't beat people here, I think it must be commonplace. How do you guys educate children? Qin Huairu, our neighborhood committee also sees that your family is relatively poor, and your husband passed away relatively early, so we often help your family. I hope you can educate these children well and make contributions to the country in the future. Is that how you teach children? Beating others, insulting others, and even being so arrogant. You really disappoint me. Later, Director Wang looked at Yi Zhonghai again and pointed at his nose, saying, and you, Yi Zhonghai, don't you understand these children in the courtyard? Don't you teach them to be fair in hosting? Your virtue. I really feel so disgusting. There's nothing to say now. Lu Haizhong, go call the police over. Lu Haizhong nodded happily. Run out of the courtyard with a thud. Jia Zhang's face turned pale in an instant, and suddenly lay in front of Director Wang, shouting loudly, oh my God, my earth. My family is so pitiful, and you still want to bully us like this, orphans and widows. You really have such a cruel heart. Everyone saw him like this. It's already commonplace. Director Wang remained expressionless and said, don't do this. What kind of virtue are you? Don't we still know, you rolling shrew? I don't usually take care of you. I didn't expect to do these things in front of me. If you're like this again, believe it or not, I'll slap you myself. Just this one sentence. Jia Zhang quickly got up from the ground. Crying and crying, he said, Director Wang, I know it's my grandson's fault this time. He shouldn't have hit someone else. For the sake of being a child this time, don't send him to the juvenile detention center. If he is sent in, what future does our Jia family have? At this moment, Silly Zhu hurriedly ran out and said, yes, Director Wang, what kind of person is Bang Gung? I am very clear in my heart. As long as I educate him well, he must be a good child. There is no bad intentions in my heart. Li Cheng felt very amused when he heard this. I also understand that in the original plot, the ending of the silly pillar, he was driven out of the courtyard by Bang Gung and froze to death under the overpass. To be honest, Li Cheng did not feel any pity for this ending. On the contrary, I feel that I deserve it. Take it on your own. A Madonna bitch like this should have died earlier. Living here is really a waste of air. Beating my sister like this. That's what you're saying. There's no bad intentions. It's really ridiculous. I don't know if your brain was kicked by a donkey, or if you don't have a brain at all. After Li Cheng finished speaking, Su Dumao next to him joked with a smile, silly Zhu must be doing it for Qinhuairu. The two of them flirt every day, secretly flirting with each other. We can't help but see it. For the sake of his future good son, we can actually understand what Bang Ji said. Ha ha ha. In an instant, everyone present burst out laughing. And Jia Zhang's face next to him was ironclad. Before Qinhuairu could react, Jia Zhang slapped him in the face. Chapter 10. Jia Zhang's face turns black, the police are here. You are listening at novelfull.audio. I'll tell you how you two flirt. I tell you, with me here for a day. Don't think about being with other men. Jia Zhang grabbed Qinhuairu's ear. Qinhuairu felt a burst of pain. But for this kind of pain, he was accustomed to it in his heart. After all, to be honest. After all these years of marriage, there hasn't been a day without being beaten. It's not this kind, it's that kind. Although I feel very aggrieved in my heart. But no one can confide in me. When I first married into the Jia family, I thought I would live a better life for the people in the city, but I never thought that my wicked mother-in-law would be the best lazy cook in the world. Why not do it? Eat first. Even if pregnant for 8 months. He also forces himself to do various household chores. These past few years have been endured like this. Now, relying on the small salary I earn in the steel rolling mill, I can barely support this family. Thinking of this, tears streamed down Qinhuairu's face. But in the eyes of Jia Zhang, he was indeed very pretentious. Alright, stop pretending here. You even made me cry. Just as everyone was watching the excitement. At this moment, several people in uniforms appeared at the entrance of the courtyard. These few people are exactly police officers. A few comrades. Director Wang looked at the police officer and said with a smile, "Take this child away. Take him to the juvenile detention center. Let him reform and transform well inside." 3 comrades nodded at the same time. The police are also very familiar with the director of the neighborhood committee in front of them. After all, the police station is under the jurisdiction of the street office at this time. And the neighborhood committee also belongs to the street office. There are also many business dealings between the two on a regular basis. Although the police station has great power. But after taking off his uniform, he is still an ordinary person. Therefore, I also have great respect for the chief police officer of the neighborhood committee. 3 people didn't say a word. Walked up to Bang Ji. Lift him up. This scared the Jia Zhang family next to him. Turns out these people are here for real today. Don't. This is the only bloodline of our Jia family, it needs to be passed down from generation to generation. You can't do this to my grandson. If you want to take my family's meme away, then you can step on me. With a splash. Jia Zhang lay on the ground again. Both hands are still holding the thighs of the police comrade. Everyone was speechless when they saw it. Director Wang frowned and sternly reprimanded, "Jia Zhang, don't be shameless. I tell you, if you have this virtue and are hindering our police comrades from doing things, then don't blame me, let the police comrades take you away too." Upon hearing this, Jia Zhang just closed her mouth now, right, the Qinhuairu next to her was even more crying. But he knew that no matter how much he cried, it was of no use. So he looked at the silly pillar in front of him for help. Seeing Qin Huairu with tearful eyes, silly Zhu felt very uncomfortable in his heart. So he looked at Director Wang in front of him and nodded and said, "Director, Badaji is still so young. Give him another chance. I promise I will give him a good education." As he spoke, he also took a liking to Yi Zhonghai next to him. Yi Zhonghai understood this consciousness. He also nodded and said, "Director Wang, which child wouldn't make a mistake? If he makes a mistake and goes straight to the juvenile detention center, it will ruin their entire lives. Give him another chance." Director Wang also felt that this was indeed the truth upon hearing it. After much thought, he still looked at Li Cheng beside him and said, "To be honest, I didn't say anything about this. After all, I'm not a victim. If you can earn the victim's forgiveness, then we can give Badu another chance. Otherwise, I will lock him up in the juvenile detention center." I heard this. Yi Zhonghai was overjoyed at the moment. He walked up to Li Wan and said with a smile, "Xiao Wan, I know you have a very good relationship with Bang Gung. You probably don't want to get into this situation either. You two were just playing around and didn't bully you, did you? Alright, you can forgive Badaji this time. What do you think?" Li Cheng next to him instantly pushed Yi Zhonghai away and said, "Don't be disgusting here. What's a little fight and fuss? I almost lost my hand, and I'm still playing and fussing. Are you funny here? Li Cheng, the victim is not you. Although you are his brother, if your sister doesn't mind, what qualifications do you have to mind here?" Yi Zhonghai instead sneered directly, "You are really meddling." Li Wan, who was originally in front of her, heard these words from them and thought of calming things down. After all, if you look up, you won't see if you look down. But I didn't expect Yi Zhonghai to directly mock me. Li Wan had already made up her mind at this moment. So he patted Li Cheng's hand and looked at him with a smile, "Brother, I came up with a few words to say." Li Cheng nodded and said, "Sister, please speak up. No matter what you say, my brother will support you."